Do you have an all-star HR team? You may feel your team is already performing at a high level, but let's take a closer look. Would your company's top leaders and employees agree that your HR team are operating at a high level? Are team members able to influence top executives on difficult topics? Are team members' business and strategy focused on the challenges the organization is facing? Does the executive team trust your direct reports as advisors on human capital issues? If you can answer yes to these questions, you have built an outstanding team. If you feel there is room for improvement, Strategy Focused Group can create a custom development program to elevate the quality of your HR team. Please email us at info@strategyfocusedgroup.com.
Good morning, good evening, depending upon what part of the world you're in. If it's Friday, it is the CEO series, where we bring together the most phenomenal leaders from across the globe and they share their career journey. And today we're very, very honored to hear this story. Dr. Stanley Andrisse is an endocrinologist, scientist, and executive director of From Prison Cells to PhD, a nonprofit transforming the narrative around incarceration and education. Once labeled as a career criminal, he's now a college professor and a global advocate of second chances. His journey from a prison cell to earning a PhD stands as a powerful testament to the human capacity for change. Our tagline is "Behind every title is a story worth telling." And with that, I want to welcome Dr. Stan. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to share with your audience today.
I'm so happy to have you here because, I mentioned to you, our audience is across the globe. We've got people listening from the Middle East, Asia, Africa, all over the world. And one of the reasons we started the CEO series was to get people a chance to talk about their journey, because when you come out of school or whether you're incarcerated, you think everything is going to go one way and it turns around and goes another way. So let's take that and lead into what we want to talk about. Powerful transformation from incarcerated to becoming where you are today, endocrinologist and professor. Walk us through that journey. And I know that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I am a formerly incarcerated person with 3 felony convictions. I was sentenced to 10 years in prison as a prior and persistent career criminal. I actually got hit with, many people are familiar with the 3 strikes law. 3 strikes and you're out. So I got hit with the 3 strikes law and got labeled as a career criminal. By the prosecutor doing that, she was able to push and was pushing for 20 years to life in prison. So she felt that this young Black boy from Ferguson needed to be thrown away for life. So I was looking at 20 to life. I got sentenced to 10 years. Fast forward some time, I did my time on that 10. And as you mentioned in the introduction, I am now Dr. Stanley Andrisse, endocrinologist scientist, and newly the first formerly incarcerated tenured professor at a medical school. So I'm at Howard University College of Medicine, the mecca of HBCUs. I know I love all HBCUs, and when I'm on with folks, I know there may be some alliances to other HBCUs. So I just want to say that I love all HBCUs, but Howard is the #1 producer of Black and brown scientists and physicians. I'm very proud to be part of that environment. And so, at Howard University, before I was at Howard, I was at Johns Hopkins Medicine for 5 years. Also hold a visiting affiliation at Georgetown Medicine.
Wow.
Didn't think I was hustling strong enough and took my talents across seas to a place called Imperial College London for a little bit, which is an Ivy League caliber school in the UK. So I clearly didn't live up to these expectations that this prosecutor had on this young Black boy from Ferguson many years ago. But, to break it down even a little bit more, growing up in Ferguson, I got involved in making poor decisions at a very young age. I started selling drugs before I was a teenager, arrested for the first time at 15, continued to make those poor decisions that led me to sitting in that courtroom looking at 20 years to life in prison in my early 20s. And I was fortunate enough, so I go into this 10-year sentence, I start my sentence, and like too many of us who have that experience of incarceration, you go through this process of people in these high positions telling you how terrible of a person you are.
Yeah.
And so you go in, you kind of soaks into you, and you believe it. And for me, I was moving in the way of thinking that I was hopeless and going to be in this revolving door of incarceration. I was fortunate to have a mentor step into my life that saw me using my talents and skills differently and started investing in my potential. Um, and that tied with over the course of the first 2 years of my incarceration, my father had a number of hospitalizations, surgeries, amputations, and ended up losing his battle with type 2 diabetes.
Wow.
And it was that led to me picking up my first scientific article on diabetes. Um, and that was the like epiphany moment for me, where although my body was physically locked in a prison cell, my mind was freely roaming around the human cell.
Wow.
That way I was free, and that's when a lot of things began to change for me in terms of me. Although my body was still locked up physically for some time, my mind was freely roaming the possibilities of what life has to offer.
Wow. That's such an amazing story. I want to do a quick shout out, HBCU grad, Benedict College, and I am an adjunct at Howard University in their EMBA program. So that's wanted to get a little taste of that and doing. And it's so powerful. And as you walk through that, you talked about poor decisions that people make. People make poor decisions in life. People make poor decisions in careers. If you've
Yes.
gone through that, what advice would you give someone? How did you stay focused? You're sitting in a prison cell. People have been labeling you all of these kinds of things. How did you stay focused to say, you know what, I still want to do this? You talked about the
Yeah.
mentor who was able to
Yep.
guide you, but what if someone doesn't have that mentor? What would you advise them to do?
Yeah, I really had to come to this place. So what the mentor and what starting to read these scientific articles did. So one thing about the scientific articles, if you've never read a scientific article, or if you have, then you might be familiar that every other word is something you've never heard of before. And in prison, there's no Google, WebMD, definitely not Chat GPT at that time.
Mm,
So, it would take months and months to go through these. So one aspect of what I would share with people is find something that you are drawn to and that you have a passion to just like dive in. And so for me, I became so um, like it just consumed me to want to learn more and learn more and learn more. So I would, suggest for people to find that thing that makes them just want to dive in and, be consumed by this idea of learning more or understanding more. And what that actually did then was help me really start to understand myself a little bit more.
mm,
Um, and I would encourage folks in those situations because, a good leader, in order to have strong leadership, you really need to have a deep understanding of who you are and what makes you tick and what makes you move in certain ways. And so that was, learning myself. I gained a deeper appreciation of who I was
mm,
at a very deep level.
mm. Who are you? I think so many people go through that, and I think lots of times, and this is just my interpretation of that. We're trying to be who somebody else wants us to be, or who we think we want to be, and that self kind of putting ourselves under a microscope, that could be scary to some people. To how do I take that step?
Yeah, it's definitely something that was was a little what was scary. I think but necessary. When we learn and once we have that deeper understanding of ourselves, sometimes the reason that we don't take that deep dive into ourselves is because it can be so challenging and scary to
Hmm.
understand, certain aspects of who you are. But once you go through that and for me, it also, in my experience, really took me taking account. So accountability is a strong
Yeah.
characteristic of good leadership.
Yeah.
And I had to take this strong account for the things that I had done in my life
Yeah.
and understand why I was doing them.
Hmm. 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 So I want to come back to what you said about trying to understand that piece. So you had gone through. Okay, the video is out. I can still keep talking because I'm sure you can possibly hear me. So you had already gone through high school and finished high school, and this little disruption came in post high school.
Right. Yeah. So, well, yeah, that came in post high school, where I was sentenced to 10 years, but I had been involved in the juvenile system as well. So it was kind of a building up of, poor decisions. And I would say that one of the things that my organization, I had interventions. And just as I was mentioning, I got hit with the three strikes law, meaning that I had messed up previous times and had encounters with the law and had felonies and had actually been incarcerated for a what they call a shock treatment,
Mm.
where I was incarcerated for several months.
Oh.
And so they essentially said this isn't hasn't been enough of an intervention, and that's why she pushed for the that type of sentencing. But for me, the interventions that had happened up until that time of me getting sentenced to 10 years and looking at 20 to life had come from places that weren't genuine. The legal system is not set up to really heal and provide an opportunity for true rehabilitation. And what we do through our organization is that's what it was missing. So what I came to realize as I was taking this deeper account of myself was that all of these types of interventions didn't really understand who I was, didn't really understand what it was like for a person to grow up in a place like Ferguson that's a predominantly Black area, but has predominantly leadership that doesn't look like the community and doesn't, have the same understanding of what the community is going through. So I had to take that into account. And I think our organization really helps meet people where they are. And
Hmm.
I think, we mentor people who convictions, currently and formerly incarcerated individuals to help them move into higher education. And I could talk a little bit more about the organization as we go deeper into the conversation. But when we think about what we're doing in terms of mentorship and how that ties to leadership, it's really an aspect of meeting people where they are and helping them understand their innate talents. And I hadn't been getting that really to help, no one had really helped me understand how much I loved science and how much
Mm.
how good I was at it. So I mean, there was just this lack of meeting me where I was, I feel is what part of my challenge was early on.
Mm.
And, our organization is made up of people who are formerly incarcerated. So we know how and understand how to meet
Yeah.
people
Mm.
where they are.
I remember reading an article a while back concerning people that got caught up in the justice system, and it was an article by a senior level of the FBI, and he said he was amazed by drug dealers the way that they can set up distribution logistics. And he said if these people would have understood and used that knowledge to go to school and get, he said they could have been a CEO of an organization because they knew nothing about the foundation of logistics, but they were able to get drugs from point A to point B. So if you think of that, and I've always kind of come back to that. You think about the number of people that are incarcerated for whatever reason. There's so much talent,
Yes.
and I applaud you for your organization. We have a video, a short video we're going to show you over our break today in talking through that. But what I'm saying is that when I see 1,200 people, I'm thinking about what about all the other Dr. Stans that are there? What about all the other people that have great ideas, but maybe there was a turning point someplace that maybe we could have changed that trajectory.
Yeah, most definitely. I think to your point of what you were just mentioning, when you think about the brilliance that is locked behind those walls, we are really missing out on talent when when we do an intent when the society is so intentional about not providing opportunity and access to these individuals who are incarcerated and formerly incarcerated. We are truly missing out on talent. And to your point of thinking about the brilliance, they were able to create these types of innovative ideas in a state of deprivation and lack of resources. So, they were in communities that didn't have resources, that were deprived of so many things, so many of the basic things that you need to thrive in life. And yet they came up with innovative ideas that were illegal, but they were innovative, and they did it with it's almost like MacGyver. They took a piece of they put all these things that people thought were useless, and they made something innovative out of it.
Yeah.
They're brilliant. And if you gave them resources, we could solve the world's problems. Like it really is. I mean, when you think about the things that some individuals did in the state of deprivation, had they been given resources, one, they probably wouldn't have done the illegal thing. They probably would have used their innovation and genius for something that wasn't illegal. But because they were deprived of resources and, economically and financially deprived, they sought to use their genius for, something illegal. But yeah, there's so much brilliance. And if we just provide opportunity and access, we can we can solve the problems that we're struggling with, or at least help solve some of those problems in our society and world.
Yeah. I look at the budgets of running prisons. If that money could have been used for something else, to even the people that are there, to start building them for the next part of their career,
Yep.
you would reduce the budget, that you would not need all of that. And that's just me thinking as a normal citizen slash businessman.
Yeah.
What's root cause? Could we go back to root cause phase and start building something in beyond that?
Yeah, that's an interest. We can spend a lot of time on that topic, but briefly, just to think about it, the way that we've saw it now is we could lock someone up for 20 years and get free labor out of them because because of the 13th Amendment, incarcerated individuals can can still be enslaved and work for no labor, and it still happens. And there's a lot of correctional industries that produce, like, if you're at a lot of the prisons and jails do all the laundry for state hospitals and different state facilities. So all of that stuff gets sent to the prison. They're in these big, massive washer dryer rooms that are crazy hot temperatures in the middle of the summer, and they're doing this work for nothing. And they send all the stuff, all your clean sheets that you're getting at these hotels and hospitals are likely this labor from this slave labor from a carceral facility. So they see it as like, oh, we can make all this money from this person in this 20 years by making them do free labor. But instead, if they just took 2 years and trained them and gave them education, they can also make a lot of money, because the next 18 years, they can be making our next electric car and, making billions for, some, I don't even want to, for some big company, right? So, we're missing out. They've misunderstood the formula. They think 20 years of free labor instead of 2 years of providing them education and a skill, and then 18 years of being a taxpayer and also, bringing innovation into the workforce.
How did you stay grounded? I'm kind of a fan of crime shows. I love to watch crime shows and trying to figure out from point A to point B. And when I hear the final piece, they'll say 20 years. I'm thinking, how do you got to go away, you got to leap out of this door in handcuffs. You got to go away for 10 years, 20 years. How did you stay focused? Because that's probably a time when that door locks that you don't have any more freedom for that period of time. How did you stay focused when you look back on it now? My mother would always say 2020 hindsight is always cool.
Yeah.
How did you stay focused?
Yeah. So I would encourage you all, for the long version of that answer, to pick up my book, From Prison Cells to PhD. It's Never Too Late to Do Good. It was released a couple years ago. It was a #1 new release on Amazon for educator biographies. And, it's my story, but it's not really about me. It's really about the challenges of, the societal, social, cultural things that go on, that a person that looks like me from a place like Ferguson ends up in prison, in ways that, and things that we can do to help support that person get to where I am now. But I go into great detail on that. But one of the things that I wanted to mention, and I go into deeper detail this in the book, is that I went through this very, very dark phase. So I went through a phase that I, was so dark that I was unsure if I was going to be here today.
Mm.
And so, I would say it was definitely not easy. And I mean, obviously it wasn't easy. But there was a very long period of darkness where I was just in this place that
Wow.
that I wouldn't wish for anyone. And I go into great detail in that in the book. But essentially I was unsure if I should be here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I encountered a lot of challenges with that thinking. And what really helped me get, because it really relied on, it really was tied to this aspect of, it was early in my incarceration where I was thinking, like, how does one go through 10 years of incarceration? Like, how do you do that? And I was just didn't think that I could do that.
Mm.
And just knowing that even when I did complete that, knowing that when I got out, I wasn't going to be able to get a job. All my loved ones wouldn't be there with me. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But what helped me get through that was, higher power and family support, and this mentor that stepped into my life that started helping me see myself differently.
Mm-hmm.
And then diving into that first scientific article, it really was this like click in my head that I am not all these terrible things
Yeah.
that society and this prosecutor and the system has said about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to realize that I kind of like help. I was one of the folks that was, basically doing Jeff Bezos types logistics to get drugs all over the country.
Yeah.
And that's a talent, and the talent that I had for making money. My nonprofit and organization is now a multi-million-dollar organization. I still have the ability to connect with people
Yeah.
and inspire people to understand our mission and give
Yeah.
us money to
Yeah.
move our mission forward. And
Mm.
I've hired a group of people that it's no longer my thing anymore. It's their thing, and they believe in it, and they're pushing it forward. So, I mean, I had those skills when I was a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still, still using those. I've just now understand that they're transferable, and I know how to use them for good.
Mm-hmm. When you look back over your life to this point, um, what phase of that are you most proud of?
Well, I mean, what I am most proud of in my life is my two little ones. So I have a 7-year-old daughter and 3-year-old son, uh, you know, who are the light of my world, and I see so much good in them, and I'm it's just this blessing to be their father. So
Mhm.
I would say that is number one. And having the relationship with my wife, who is really very understanding of of basically, I have my full-time professor, then I have an organization, then I have several books, which I hope to talk a little bit about our newest book. Um, and that takes me various places. So very fortunate to have such an understanding wife. Career-wise, I would say it was being brave enough to really come forward with my story, was, I think, one of the like changing points of my career. It's also, I came forward with my story when I founded the organization. So when I got out of prison, when I was in prison, this mentor stepped into my life. He really started saying, embedding this idea that I need to continue my education. He helped me put together a lot of applications. It was very difficult. We were doing that while I was still incarcerated. Um, it took months and months to put these applications. I submitted multiple applications and just rejection after rejection after rejection. I got rejected from every single place except for St. Louis University, where he was on the admissions committee. I got into St. Louis University. I completed my MBA and PhD simultaneously at the top of my class in just 4 years and moved on to those other places that I mentioned. During that time, I was terrified to share my story because I thought the mentor had pulled some Harry Houdini magic trick to suck
Behind the scene.
in, and I didn't want to mess up the juju by spilling the beans and telling everybody. So I was terrified and I didn't share my story. And I went through, it wasn't until I got to Johns Hopkins and the Ferguson uprisings and the Baltimore uprisings, and I took part in those events that I really, I had been doing some things behind the scenes with a couple of people that I was incarcerated with to help them get into college. And it was really those events and conversation with Marilyn Mosby, who was the state's attorney in Baltimore City during the Baltimore uprisings, and Freddie Gray, the death of Freddie Gray, and conversations with the late Elijah Cummings, that I started having these conversations, and they learned of my story and wanted me to really
Bring it
make
up.
it public.
Mhm.
And so we start the organization, and we're doing direct services. This is 8 years ago. We've now had over 2,500 people apply to the program, about 1,000 people start the program, over 800 people that have completed it. But along with the direct services that we do to help currently and formerly incarcerated people pursue higher education and employment, we also we started policy work. And Marilyn Mosby and Elijah Cummings and some other community leaders really pushed me to share my story on the Hill for a policy called Ban the Box. And I shared my story, and the bill got passed, but then also immediately the Washington Post picked up my story, PBS, NPR, and all these others, and the book deals came. But I think that was one of the big turning points of my career, just the pushing me to be brave enough to
Brave.
share this thing. And I think that for leaders, I mean, sometimes we fear, we know we need to do this. We know and I mean, a higher power had been telling me to do this. And then the higher power put these people into my life that were like, oh my goodness, your story is so powerful. It can help
Mhm.
so many people. Why are you not sharing this? It's not a bad thing. You're a you're at Johns Hopkins and you have this, like, you need to be sharing this.
Yeah.
And I think for so many of us, we know we need to do that thing and we're
Mhm.
scared of it. Whether
Yeah.
it's starting the business, whether it's making this investment, whether it's shifting, and it's that bravery piece that was big for me, and I think it's important for many leaders.
Mm. You talked about the rejections of trying to get into school, rejections. Some people would have said, you know what, done that, and I'm moving to something else. But what was there to say? And then I'm going to ask you this, and then I'm going to go. I want you to tell us about your new book. Because I know if we switch the conversation, lots of people are being laid off. They're trying to find jobs. They're applying, and people reach out to me. Can you help? And I try and help as much as I possibly can. But rejection after rejection can kind of push back into a mindset that I
Yeah.
can. It just saps all my energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we are in a tough economy right now. And I get a lot. I mean, our our organization is all about helping people find opportunity. So as you can imagine, we get, it's hard for people who don't have criminal convictions to find employment in this where we are today. And so it's very hard for people with criminal convictions at the moment. But we've of course done a lot of work to help employers understand the value of what we were just saying, that
Okay.
there's brilliance. But what in my personal time, we were not in the environment that we are now, where there's a lot of what people like to say, employers that are friendly to people with criminal convictions. There was not really that case back when I was, just had gotten out. And I just I just truly believed in me. And I had this mentor that truly believed in me and truly believed in my talents being able to provide value to society, to an organization, to a place of higher education where he got me into. So he truly believed in me. I had this person that truly believed in me, and that helped me truly believe in me.
Hmm.
So I knew that there was somebody that would see that they are missing out if they don't bring me on.
Mm.
And that kept, despite all the rejections, I kept a positive attitude because I knew what I could bring to the table, and I knew that I was bringing value to the table, and I knew that I wanted to do it for a reason that was bringing good into the world. And
Mm.
so I believed in myself, and I believed that the world understood. I believe that there was a higher power that understood that I wanted to do good.
Wow. Wow.
And so that just drove me through all the rejections.
Mm. Hold it for 1 second. I do want to do a quick. A day is not back yet because I wanted to show that video that we have, that short snippet, until he gets back. So, um, talk to us about the book. This is
Yeah,
your second, third book, or
this is my second first author lead book. I have a couple of co-author lead books as well. But this book really came from a conversation like this. So from the first book, From Prison Cells to PhD, It's Never Too Late to Do Good, the publisher set up, various podcasts. I was doing a podcast, and another publisher saw the podcast. And, in most of these types of conversations, I really talk about this work that I was charged to do, and
Mhm.
with the organization, and helping people with criminal convictions find meaningful employment and self-worth. And they approached me. It was Wiley,
Wiley, I
the
know.
publisher of the second book is Wiley, and they approached me and asked me to write a book about the organization. And I said that I would love to write a book about the organization, but I don't think that I should write it, because the organization, we've now, as I mentioned, 2,500 people apply, 1,000 people go through, more than 800 that have completed. I don't want to tell their stories. I want them to tell their stories. So we rearranged the book deal to where it is actually me as lead author, and there's 13 co-authors. When we rearranged the deal, we then put out a call for applications to the more than 800 people that we call scholars. We call the individuals. We don't like to use the word inmate, convict, offender, ex-con. We call our participants scholars. So we put out a call for application to the over 800 scholars that have completed our program. We got 75 applications, and we selected 13 individuals that, we are very intentional in selecting who we selected, in that we wanted a representation. We wanted geographical representation. So these are people, our organization serves people all over the country, and we serve people in several countries as well. And we wanted, so the book is called Breaking Chains, Building Futures. And we wanted there to be a representation of how people came to be incarcerated and what they've done with their life since. So we have people that had life sentences. We had
Oh,
people that were on death row. We had people that had shorter sentences. We had people that had, white collar crimes where their upbringing was not from a place like Ferguson that was, a challenged upbringing. So we have people from all, incarceration touches so many. We wanted to really help people understand that it touches so many people's lives, and you
yeah.
might not even think about how it's touching your life. And then we then also wanted to help people understand how there's so many ways to redeem yourself and reinvent yourself after incarceration. And for many in the book, it involved education and this aspect of redemption, that they feel a higher purpose to serve others. And
Mm.
so it's a collection of stories. I encourage you all to pick it up. Breaking Chains, Building Futures. It's a fantastic read, but of course I am very biased.
That's okay. That's okay. It's on my list, and I'm gonna order from Amazon as soon as I get off the call today. You mentioned mentors and that anchor of a mentor and how important that is. And I deal with a lot of board, C-suite, and so-called big shot leaders. Sometimes I ask them, so who are you helping to pulling along? And I get this stare. And that stare tells me that you're so busy doing this that you're not looking back to see, okay, who else can I do this?
Yeah.
Talk to me about the importance of mentorship.
Yeah, you know, the idea that some people have of this concept of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, which says that people get to where they are on their own, which
Mhm.
is such there's none of us that are in places of what we personally believe to be success or what society sees to be success. There's no one that's at a place of success that hasn't had mentors in their life. The thing that some people confuse is that because they are so resourced in life, that their mentors came at their kitchen table sometimes. Their
Yeah,
mentors came in $1 million loan from dad.
yeah,
And their mentors came in the fact that they were from communities that were a bunch of lawyers, and they were always around business people and lawyers or doctors. And so they didn't even maybe realize that they were receiving mentorship and guidance. But really, there's no one that gets to a place of success without mentorship.
hmm,
And for those that don't come from resourced environments, they don't have the opportunity to really connect with true mentors that can help put them in places of
hmm,
in pathways that can lead to successful personal and career lives. So it is absolutely vital. And, our organization is essentially a mentoring organization where we connect every one of our scholars to their own personal mentor and coach. And they meet with them on a weekly basis. Everyone in the program puts together something called an individual development plan, an IDP. And
hmm.
then essentially their mentor and coach, their mentors are all formerly incarcerated. Their coaches are people that are professionals in the field of their choice, and or the field that they're interested in. And so we tell them that this is basic. You are the CEO of your company, of you. You are a company and you are the CEO. And these two individuals are your executive leadership team, your board of advisors. So you should use them as mentors and coaches to help you succeed as the business of you.
Yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
so we've built a whole organization, and we have now thousands of scholars and mentors that
Wow.
we basically we call it the P2P family. We stay connected with them for life. Like this is not a 6-month program, one
Yeah.
year program. This is a
Then
life.
you buy, go ahead on your way. Yeah, yeah. No, we're there. You know what? A day is not back. He was just back a few minutes ago because I really wanted to play that video. I love the concept, and I've always used that. You're the CEO of you. How do you grow your brand? How do you grow your career? Disruption comes. How do you move from here? And the drastic stage, you're in prison. you're the CEO of you. What's going to be the next step? If I get an opportunity to get out of here, if you could advise the so-called prison structure, the head of whoever it would be inside of a government, what would be some talking points to these people to say, you have all this talent locked up, who found another way to try and reach a goal? How could we develop something in the system to
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I would love, and P2P is working towards um, really having this idea of an institute. And I feel so I feel using the word institute, because that's what they call many correctional facilities as well,
Yeah.
is gives me pause. But creating some type of entity or institute that is all about training those individuals and honing their skills, uh, to, instead of putting them in incarceration for long periods of time, put them through training for just a year or 2 years is really all. Most of the people that we've worked with tell us that, like, I had the change for me did not take decades. The change took a rather short amount of time. And so we need to really understand what were those epiphany moments and those change moments, and just get people to that. We don't need to leave them for those long periods of time. And what it really is helping people understand what their innate talents are and what they were brought here to do. We all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses, but if we can help people understand what their strengths and talents are, people just want to have purpose and want to feel that their life is valued, and there's a sense of worthiness, right?
Mhm.
So if you can help them understand that they can bring value to their society and to the community, people are driven by that. I
Mhm.
mean, most amazing business leaders, uh, the reason their business is thriving is because they've understood their talent, and they understand that their talent is something that can bring value to others, and they've monetized it, right? And
Mhm.
they've brought that talent to the community and world. And that's what we need to help people understand. And I
Mhm.
think that is, if we could help people under, the powers that be, understand that if we give these individuals a skill, help them hone in on their talent, it will be beneficial for everyone, from an economic standpoint, from a public safety standpoint, from a humanistic standpoint. Everyone benefits.
This story is so powerful. Do you have segments, or is your org structure set up by state, or would they just contact the number, or what's the
Yeah.
structure of it?
So for the national work that we do, you can contact info@prisontopro.org. And we have we're not set up in chapters, but we have leaders in over 35 states, where we help those leaders in those states help us connect to resources for individuals in those states. And a lot of the resources that we can provide to folks, it can be provided. We don't need to be on the ground in that particular area or state to help them connect to the resources or connect to mentorship.
Okay. Okay, cool. We're ready for break now. Let's show that short video. I know we're running short on time, but Ade is going to pull up this video and walk us through prison cells to PhD.
Every year, countless lives are defined by cycles of incarceration and struggle. Yet within those same walls, stories of resilience, learning, and transformation take root. But some individuals make it and become better people for their experiences. Instead of surrendering to an overburdening system, they grow and evolve to become game changers who challenge the status quo. Inspirations for tomorrow's leaders. leaders themselves building a better community and society for tomorrow. The journeys remind us that redemption is not the end of the story, it's the turning point. From the shadows of confinement, rise the architects of a new tomorrow, proving that even in the darkest places, the light of purpose can still break through. From award-winning author of From Prison Cells to PhD, Dr. Stanley Andrisse, comes new powerful stories of other leaders who are standing up next to Dr. Andrisse. Read more about their stories in Breaking Chains, Building Futures, Pathways to Redemption, Education, and Excellence. The best part? The story doesn't end here. It's only just begun.
Yes,
Thank
those
you.
are all the co-authors actually of the book.
Thank you for that. That was emotional in watching that. I know friends of mine who have gotten caught up in things. I want to do a quick shout out every week. We do a quick shout out for people that are listening in. My dear friend Peter Piccinini, who was also a former guest, says it's always a great way to start the weekend. Mickey Sane says, "What a powerful discussion." My man Gary, I'll get back to you later today. You sent me an email earlier. And Mickey Sane says, "I love this book." Apparently, he has read this book. And then we have Reverend Prasad, who says hello to everyone. So, as I said, we have a global audience for people all across the globe. Maybe they didn't comment in today, but this is what we try and do: bring together stories from people who have faced situations and now they are trying to get back on track. So we're running up on time now. What would be your closing thoughts? What are you excited about? What is next? I mean, you're at a younger age now, and what do you see as the big picture beyond what you're doing now?
So I really am focused on changing the narrative. I would hope that the work that we do from the organization, the message that's being delivered in the book, is that we want to change the narrative around what it is to be someone who's been impacted by the criminal legal system. And we want people to understand that we are truly missing out on talent when we don't offer opportunity and access. And you can do that on a personal level. If you're a business owner, you could obviously do that on a potentially greater level. But what I want to leave people with is changing the narrative around what it is to be a person who's been impacted by the system. I want you to understand that we're human and we're missing out on talent when we don't open the door for individuals like myself and the others that we support.
Awesome. Quick shout out to Anissa Reed, who's also a frequent listener. She says education is definitely important. I have two screens there. I haven't quite figured it out. So, Dr. Stanley, thank you. I can never thank you enough for telling this story, and it's global. So I want to thank you for making the time. We've been back and forth trying to connect, and your stories are powerful. I want you to hang on for a minute as we begin the process of closing out. But to everyone who joined us today, thank you for listening. Your time and curiosity keeps these conversations alive. We'll be back next Friday with another journey, because behind every title is a story worth telling. And every story brings us closer to what leadership really means. So be sure to like, share with your friends across the so-called internet. And I thank you, everyone, for being a listener today. And Dr. Stanley, hang on for a second as we close out.
Take the CEO series with you anywhere, anytime. All episodes are now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and major streaming platforms. It's not just an interview. It's a masterclass in leadership.